I'm Lewis Love, and I'm on the front porch with William Bearfield III, better known as Triple E.
You wasn't supposed to tell people my government name.
What?
That's a secret.
That's a secret?
That's a secret.
Maybe they'll edit it out for us.
Yeah,
What do you think?
okay, yeah. They can
Welcome to the front porch, brother.
Thank you so much, man.
It's good to be here with you.
Good to be here.
Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into what you do, your vocation, and all.
Yeah, I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Great place. Grew up in Dallas, both parents, praise God for that. Dallas is a really churchy place, and so there was churchiness and Christianity, cultural Christianity all around me. Churches on every corner. Everybody I knew was a professing Christian. For most of the first years of my life, I literally did not know a person who didn't say they were a Christian. And so I was confused about what it meant to be a Christian early on, because I knew people who loved Jesus said they were Christians, and people who didn't love Jesus said they were Christians. And people just on both ends of every spectrum saying they were Christians. So I was confused about what a Christian was. And I was like 5, repeated a prayer after the children's pastor. Thought that made me a Christian. I was really just, I might as well have been reading the newspaper. I was just saying words. By God's grace, started getting involved in a youth group when I was 13 or 14. Youth pastor was faithful to preach the gospel, and God, by his grace, saved me, opened my eyes to see Jesus for who he was. And right after that, helped me to begin to see the value of his word, that he was revealing himself to us, that he was showing me the way that I should live my life, the way that I can live in a way that brings him glory. And so that led me to try to figure out how I could glorify him in every area of my life, because I saw I'm not just here for me, but I've been made by Jesus for Jesus. So what does that mean for relationships? What does that mean for my music? And so that's why I kind of began to do music and trying to glorify God with my life. And here I am years later.
Wow. So you do music?
I do music.
Tell us a bit about that.
I've always loved music. My dad was a music fan. He used to play all kind of music around the house all the time, but it was mainly Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, Sly and the Family Stone. So I always loved music, but I like the music. I know it is, and I still love it. But I connected in a special way with hip hop. It connected with me, and it was something about the drums, something about the rhythm, something about the rhymes that really connected with me. And so I started writing rhymes from I was like 11 or 12, and they weren't good, but I was writing them. And you know, I wasn't from the hood either, so I wasn't rapping about gangster stuff. You know, I was just trying to rap about how good I thought I was, how many girls I thought I could get. Jesus saved me when I was around 14, and like I said, I'm beginning to rethink how I can do everything to the glory of God. So I started kind of rapping in my church some, and by God's grace, running into some brothers, Lecrae being one of them, Tadashi being one of them, and basically those brothers, by God's grace, began to disciple me, help me to grow in my faith. So before we ever did any music together, we were in the Word together, and I praise God for that. And ended up signing a record deal when I was a senior in high school. Started my first album when I was 17. It came out a couple days after my high school graduation. That was my first album in 2006. Yes, I graduated high school in 2006. And
why'd you say yes? I graduated.
Because people always look at me like, what? Because I'm young, you know, years later, I just put out my 4th album recently, and God has made it. You know, I never expected that it would be as big as it is. Never expected to have such a big platform. But I'm really grateful for it, because I feel like it's really given me a platform to talk about the things that I think are most important. It's given me a platform to put out music that people enjoy, and give me a platform to talk about the things that I'm most passionate about. Yeah.
Do you, you know, with artists, as I know, I'm not really educated in music, right? But you know, we have our favorites. I mean, you mentioned some guys that you mentioned some guys that your dad likes. I'm like, oh yeah, I like those guys too.
I like them too. Yeah.
So that means I'm old enough to be your dad. But anyway, for example, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Right? That's when I was coming up.
Yeah.
And though their songs were different, they're still you can almost detect a theme that kind of ran through their music.
Yeah.
So with yours, we know that you sing to the glory of God.
Yeah.
Is there a certain theme, are there certain doctrines that that you are concerned with making sure that you communicate in your music?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are seasons where I'm burdened to communicate different things.
Okay.
If you listen to my first album, it's clear that I am a young dude who loves Jesus, and it's called If They Only Knew. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, I wish everybody knew about Jesus.
Okay.
My second album, 2008, I'm thinking, man, because of sin, we don't see God clearly. We need to see God more clearly. That album's called 2020. Third album, I'm thinking about what it means to live looking forward to Jesus in a fallen world. That album's called Between Two Worlds. Fourth album, I'm thinking about, there's so many different pictures we've been told about what kind of life we should live. That album's called The Good Life. What is the best kind of life we can live? What's the way that we were created to live by God? So I've always tried to be intentional about communicating truth about God, because I'm the type of dude, when God helps me to see something clearly, I automatically feel burdened to help other people see it clearly. Right. So I see it, it impacts me, and I just have a burden. If I never get to rap again, I'm gonna tell somebody about the stuff that I'm learning. So that's why I feel like I'm not only rapper, but I'm also preacher, teacher, because it's just gonna flow out of me. And so that's the way that I've chosen to use my music, to talk about God, to talk about life from a biblical worldview, and to help people see life the way that He sees it. Yeah.
Something else that you mentioned just a moment ago that I think is interesting, and I think that's exciting about what you're doing. Not only are you a Christian artist, and certainly you earn your living from your vocation, but like so many Christian artists, you're also a churchman, aren't you?
I am.
Tell me a little bit about that and some training that you've been doing.
Yeah, I think when I went to Bible college in 2006, and people said, "Do you want to be a pastor?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't think so." But I knew I wanted to help people understand God's word. Right. But I think it was because I didn't quite understand the church well yet. I didn't understand where the church fell in God's plan to glorify Himself yet. And so as I understood that more during my time while I was in Philadelphia, that's when I started to feel a strong call towards pastoral ministry. That's also where I understood what it looked like to live in community with other believers. And so I think being an artist makes it easy to not really be involved in the church like other believers are, because you kind of get a pass, right? Because you're very gifted, and especially Christian artists, especially if you're communicating God's truth, people just assume you're okay and you can kind of stay in isolation. Right. But I've been praying that the Lord would help me to prioritize right. I need to be faithful to Jesus, faithful to my wife, faithful to my church family, way before I'm just out doing music and trying to garner fans, you know. And so yeah, I think God has called me just as a believer to be involved in His church. But even beyond that, I feel like God has called me to be a pastor, and that's where my heart is. So if I get to either preach and serve in a local context, helping to shepherd God's people, or I get to rap, I think I'm going to choose a local church context, because that's where my passion lies.
Wow. Yeah. And you've done something that's quite unusual in terms of getting trained.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially since the kind of music that you do has a certain appeal. Some people think might be a stereotype. Certain people think that your music would have an appeal for folks in urban African Americans. Yeah. But because you want to be trained, you wanted solid training. Yeah. You sacrificed.
I did. Yeah.
Tell us about that, man.
Yeah. I did an internship at my current church in D.C. This really is an internship to help train pastors. And, you know, I wanted the kind of training that was still academic and intellectual, but was also very practical, and I was going to get to learn from faithful shepherds. It just so happened that this training that I thought happened to be a great opportunity was not in an African-American church, or was not in an urban context. But though I think culture is important, I think what's most important is the gospel, is doing things in a way that's faithful to Scripture. And that seemed to me at the time to be the best place to get the kind of training I wanted to get. Yeah. And so I'm still at that church now. I'm actually a pastoral assistant in my church now in D.C., and just trying to continue to learn from faithful shepherds and praying that God would allow me to be a faithful shepherd.
Wow. Yeah. That's sacrificial. But it also shows, I think, how important you think it is to to be prepared to bring the gospel to the context where you want to serve. Yeah. Because then you will take the training anywhere it is.
Absolutely.
And be serious about it. You're a recent dad.
I am. I have me and my wife Jessica have been married for 4 years.
Wow.
And I have a 7-month-old son. He's William the Fourth.
William the Fourth.
But we call him Q, because quiet doesn't sound cool. So we're going with Q. We're going with Q. Yeah. Yeah.
So one more question. One more thing I want you to do. Help. I'm an older pastor. Mm-hmm. Well, not really, but compared to you.
Yeah.
Right. Especially since you started throwing out your father's music and stuff, and went way back to Sly and the Family Stone and everything. Yeah. There seems to be a little bit of a discontinuity between Christian hip hop and the traditional African American church. Yeah. What do you think needs to be done to bridge that gap, or to bring the two together in a way that's certainly that glorifies God, that does not cause the church to feel that they're compromising, nor does it or make you feel like you have to step away from the craft the way you feel the Lord's leading you to do it?
Yeah. Well, I understand some people's hesitance with hip hop. I understand where it comes from, because most of the pictures we see of hip hop are negative pictures. They're negative images of black men. They're negative images of what's most important. That's most of the pictures that we see of hip hop. So I understand some people's hesitation. But my encouragement would be not to associate those negative pictures with the culture or the art form of hip hop, but to associate those negative pictures with sin. Sin is the problem. Hip hop isn't the problem. So in any culture, you're going to see people who love their sin more than they love God, and who have rebelled against God. And you're going to see negative images, and hip hop is not an exception. It just so happens hip hop is a really bold art form. We don't just sin, we brag about our sin, we glorify our sin. That's what hip hop is. And so I think instead of pushing hip hop away, what we should do instead is, if there's some people who grew up in that hip hop culture, who associate with hip hop, but who Jesus has redeemed, that we wouldn't push those people away, that we would instead be open to the fact that it's possible for them to embrace the things that are neutral about hip hop culture, such as the dress, such as the music form, but we can push away the things that are sinful, just like we do in any culture, in American culture at large. That Jesus does redeem people within the hip hop culture, and the art form can be used to glorify God. There's more than one cultural expression to glorify God in, you know.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I'm glad the Lord is using you. I pray that He will continue to do so, and that you know, your heart for preaching and continuing to communicate the Word of God, yes, certainly through your music and through the preaching of the Word of God to the Church of Christ, will flourish, man.
Thank you, man.
And I believe that it will.
Thank you, man.
And it's good to talk with you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me on
Likewise.
Front Porch.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah.